Pay your own bills. My mom's voice cracked through our cramped apartment like a whip. I stood there in my nursing scrubs, still smelling like disinfectant from a 12-hour shift, staring at her perfectly manicured nails as she waved a stack of envelopes in my face. "If you're so independent, so capable, so grown up," she hissed, stepping closer until I could smell the wine on her breath, "then stop being a burden and handle your own life." My name is Maya Chin. I'm 24 years old. And that night, standing in the doorway of the apartment I'd been paying for since I was 19, something inside me didn't just break. It snapped into perfect, crystalline clarity. I didn't yell back. I didn't cry. I just smiled, pulled out my phone, and made one decision that would flip her entire world upside down within 48 hours. Stay with me until the end, because when my mom finally realized what I'd done, the words she screamed weren't, "Pay your own bills," anymore. They were, "Please, Maya, please don't do this to me." And by then, it was already far too late. But to understand why that moment felt so satisfying, you need to know how we got there. My mom, Jennifer Chin, wasn't always like this. When I was little, before my dad died when I was 14, she was different. Warmer. Present. She worked as a receptionist, complained about her feet hurting, but always made sure I had what I needed. Then Dad's heart attack took him, took his income, and somehow took the woman I remembered loving. Within a year, she'd quit her job. "Too depressing," she said. "Too stressful after losing your father." She started online shopping, getting her nails done every 2 weeks, meeting friends for expensive brunches while I came home to empty cupboards. By the time I turned 16 and got my first job at a grocery store, she'd already started the pattern that would define the next 8 years of my life. "Just help me with the electric bill this month, honey," she'd say, eyes wide and helpless. "I'm still recovering. You understand, right? You're my good girl." And I was. God help me, I was. I handed over my paycheck from bagging groceries, then from my second job at a coffee shop, then from my third job doing weekend catering. When I got into nursing school on a partial scholarship, I was so proud. I thought things would get better. Instead, she started texting me during my clinical rotations. "Card declined at Target. Can you transfer something?" I'd be in the middle of learning to insert in 4, and my phone would buzz with her emergencies that somehow always involved shopping, never survival. I covered the rent. I covered the utilities. I covered the internet, the streaming services, the food delivery she ordered 3 times a week. Meanwhile, I wore the same scrubs until they were threadbare, ate ramen between shifts, and studied in my car to save on gas driving back and forth. "You're so lucky to have a daughter who cares," she'd tell her friends on speakerphone, loud enough for me to hear. Maya works so hard for us. Us. Like we were a team. Like she was contributing anything except guilt and demands. By the time I graduated nursing school and got my RN license, I was drowning. Not in student loans, ironically. Those I'd managed carefully. I was drowning in her. In the apartment lease with both our names on it. In the credit card she'd convinced me to co-sign, just for emergencies. In the phone plan, the car insurance, the gym membership she used twice. I worked night shifts at the hospital because they paid more. I picked up overtime until my hands shook from exhaustion. And every single paycheck disappeared into the black hole of her lifestyle while she posted Instagram photos of her self-care Sundays with face masks and champagne. The final straw came on a Tuesday. I'd just finished a brutal 12-hour shift where I'd held the hand of a woman coding, watched the doctors lose her, and had to tell her family she was gone. I came home shaking, traumatized, desperate for a shower and silence. Instead, I found my mom sprawled on the couch surrounded by shopping bags. Designer shopping bags. "Oh good, you're home," she said, not looking up from her phone. "I need you to send me $500 by tomorrow. The credit card payment is due and I'm a little short." I stared at the bags, at the new throw pillows, at the candles that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. "Mom," I said slowly, my voice cracking. "I just watched someone die. I can't do this right now." She finally looked at me annoyed. "Don't be dramatic, Maya. People die in hospitals. That's your job. My credit score doesn't care about your feelings. Then she thrust a stack of bills at me, the same ones she'd been ignoring for weeks. These two. I opened them, but they're mostly your responsibility anyway since your name is on everything. That's when she said it. When I hesitated, when I looked at those bills with my name printed next to hers, when I felt my chest tighten with panic about how I'd cover all of this, she stood up, eyes flashing. Pay your own bills, she screamed. If you're so independent, so capable, so grown up, then stop being a burden and handle your own life. I'm tired of you making me feel guilty for existing. Making her feel guilty for existing. While I paid for that existence. I looked at her, really looked at her, and something fundamental shifted. I saw the new highlights in her hair. The fresh manicure. The designer athleisure outfit. The expensive candles burning on the coffee table I'd purchased. And I realized she wasn't struggling. She was performing. Performing helplessness so convincing that even I, her personal ATM, had believed it was real. I pulled out my phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore. You're right, I said calmly. I should pay my own bills. Starting now. She rolled her eyes. Finally, some maturity. I opened my banking app, fingers moving with steady purpose. I'm removing you as an authorized user on my account, I said. I'm canceling the joint credit card. I'm taking my name off the utilities, the internet, the streaming services. All of it. Her face changed. Wait, what? You wanted me to pay my own bills, I continued, my voice eerily calm even as my heart pounded. So I am. Only my bills. The ones that are actually mine. Maya, don't be ridiculous, she snapped, but I heard the edge of panic creeping in. You can't just. I'm also calling the landlord tomorrow to remove myself from the lease, I interrupted. I already checked the agreement. I can do it with 30 days' notice. After that, this apartment and everything in it? That's your bill. The color drained from her face. You wouldn't. But I was already scrolling through my contacts. Watch me. If you've ever been told you owe your family everything, you know that feeling. That moment when you realize love and obligation aren't the same thing. When you understand that being someone's daughter doesn't mean being their retirement plan. That night, I didn't just set a boundary. I built a fortress. And my mom was about to discover she'd been living in a castle made of my credit cards, and I just pulled every single one out from under her. I crashed at my coworker Jessica's place that night. She'd been telling me for years that my situation wasn't normal, that mothers don't bleed their children dry and call it love. I'd always defended Mom. Made excuses. She's been through a lot. She's still grieving Dad. She just needs help getting back on her feet. Maya, Jessica said gently as I sat on her couch, still in my scrubs, it's been 10 years. She's not getting back on her feet. She's standing on yours. I couldn't sleep. Instead, I sat with my laptop and started documenting everything. Every Venmo transfer with her begging texts attached. Please, honey, just $200 for groceries sent at midnight. Every bank statement showing my paycheck deposited and immediately transferred out. Every credit card statement for the joint card showing charges at Sephora, Nordstrom, luxury candle stores, wine shops. Never medical bills. Never actual emergencies. Just lifestyle maintenance. I pulled up the apartment lease and read it carefully for the first time in years. There it was. Either party could request removal from the lease with proper notice, but the remaining tenant had to prove they could cover the rent independently. I calculated quickly. The rent was $1,800. My mom's only income was sporadic freelance consulting that brought in maybe $400 a month. She couldn't afford this apartment without me. She couldn't afford anything without me. The thought should have made me feel guilty. Instead, I felt something unfamiliar and sharp. Power. At 7 a.m., I called the landlord. Hi, Mr. Patterson. This is Maya Chen from Unit 304. I need to submit my 30-day notice to be removed from the lease. There was a pause. Is everything all right, Maya? Your rent's always on time. Everything's fine, I said. I'm just ready to live on my own. But I wanted to give you a heads up that once I'm removed, Jennifer Chen will be the sole tenant. You might want to verify she can cover the rent independently. Another pause, longer this time. I see. I'll need to run a financial check on her then. Standard procedure. Of course, I said sweetly. I understand completely. Next, I called every utility company. Electric, gas, water, internet. The conversations were all similar. I need to remove my name from this account. Jennifer Chin can remain as the account holder, but I won't be responsible for any future charges. Each company said the same thing. Once you're removed, if the bills aren't paid, service will be disconnected. The remaining account holder will be fully responsible. I understand, I repeated, again and again. That's exactly what I want. The cell phone plan was next. I'd been paying for both our lines for years. I called the provider. I'd like to create a new individual account and port my number over. The remaining line can stay on the old account under Jennifer Chen's name. Just so you're aware, the customer service rep said the remaining line will need to cover the full account cost, and any outstanding balance will need to be paid by the account holder. Perfect, I said. By noon, I'd systematically dismantled every financial connection between us. Every shared account, every co-signed obligation, every automatic payment I'd set up to keep her life running smoothly, while mine fell apart. It felt like defusing a bomb, cutting one wire at a time, knowing that eventually, something was going to explode. It just wouldn't be exploding on me anymore. Jessica watched me work, bringing me coffee and toast. "How do you feel?" she asked. I looked up from my laptop, surprised by the answer that came. Free. Terrified, but free. My phone started buzzing around 2 p.m. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. Finally, a text appeared. "Why is the internet not working? Did you forget to pay the bill?" I typed back slowly, deliberately. I didn't forget. I removed myself from the account this morning. The bill is now solely your responsibility. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "What the hell is wrong with you? Fix this right now." Another message. "This is childish, Maya. I'm your mother." Another. "Fine. Be that way. But don't come crying to me when you realize how expensive living alone actually is." I almost laughed. Living alone? I'd been supporting 2 people on 1 income for years. Living alone would be a vacation. I didn't respond. I just watched the messages pile up, each one more frantic than the last. By evening, she'd called 23 times. I know because I counted. Then, around 8 p.m., a different kind of message appeared. The landlord called. "He's saying I need to prove I can afford the rent alone or you both have to move out." "What did you tell him?" I replied, I told him the truth. That I'm moving out and you'll be the sole tenant. Standard procedure. "Maya, I can't afford this place alone." "You know that. Then I guess you'll need to find somewhere cheaper. Or get a full-time job. You know, pay your own bills." My phone rang immediately. I answered on speaker so Jessica could hear. "How dare you?" Mom shrieked, her voice shrill with panic. "How dare you throw me out on the street like I'm nothing?" "I'm not throwing you anywhere," I said calmly. "I'm removing myself from a living situation I can't afford anymore. You're an adult. Adults handle their own housing." "You selfish, ungrateful," she started, but I cut her off. "Ungrateful? For what exactly? For the privilege of working myself into the ground to fund your lifestyle? For the honor of having my credit destroyed by joint accounts I never actually used? For the joy of eating ramen while you posted pictures of your fancy brunches?" "I raised you," she screamed. "You did," I agreed. "For 14 years, you were a good mom. Then Dad died, and for the last 10 years, you've been a dependent I never agreed to have. I'm done. If you do this," her voice dropped, venomous, "we're done. You'll never be my daughter again." Something in my chest cracked, but it didn't break. If being your daughter means sacrificing my entire life for your comfort, then maybe we need to be done. The line went dead. Jessica handed me a glass of wine. "Holy shit, Maya." "Yeah," I whispered. "Holy shit." But I wasn't done. Not even close. Because I'd learned something important during my nursing training. Documentation is everything. And I had years of documentation that my mother had no idea existed. The next morning, I went to a legal aid clinic. I brought my laptop, my phone, and 3 years' worth of bank statements. The attorney, a kind woman named Sandra, listened to my story while reviewing my documents. This is financial exploitation, she said finally. Possibly even elder abuse in reverse, though that's not a common legal term. You were a teenager when this started. 16, I confirmed. She nodded slowly. The joint credit card is the biggest concern. If she's been making charges you didn't authorize and you're listed as equally responsible, that's potentially fraud. You could dispute these charges, but... She hesitated. But... I prompted. But it would mean filing a police report against your mother, claiming she committed fraud. It could result in criminal charges. My stomach twisted. I don't want her arrested. I just want out. Then your best bet is to dispute the charges with the credit card company directly, provide evidence that you didn't make them, and let them handle it. They might write it off, or they might go after her for repayment. Either way, you'd be clear. I thought about the Sephora charges, the designer clothing, the endless luxury candles. Thousands of dollars I was technically responsible for but had never touched. Tell me how, I said. Sandra walked me through the process. For each charge I disputed, I needed to provide evidence that I didn't make it. Luckily, I had plenty. Credit card statements showing charges made while I was clocked in at the hospital, GPS data from my phone proving I was nowhere near the stores, and text messages from my mom thanking me for letting her use the card. These texts are gold, Sandra said. She's essentially admitting the charges were hers, not yours. Over the next week, while still working my hospital shifts, I methodically disputed every charge on that joint credit card that I hadn't personally made. It was hundreds of charges. Thousands of dollars. The credit card company opened an investigation. Meanwhile, the consequences of my other decisions started rolling in. The internet got shut off at the apartment. Then the electricity got a disconnection warning. My mom's texts became increasingly desperate. The power company says I owe $600. I don't have it. Please, Maya. The landlord is demanding I show proof of income. He's threatening eviction. You need to fix this. Everyone at the gym is asking why I canceled my membership. You're humiliating me. I responded to only one message. I'm not fixing anything. These are your bills now. You told me to pay my own bills. I'm doing exactly that. Then came the message I'd been half expecting, half dreading. Fine. I told Aunt Linda everything. How you abandoned me. How you left me with nothing. She's posting about it. Hope you're happy. I opened Facebook. Sure enough, Aunt Linda had posted a long, emotional rant about young people today who abandon their struggling mothers. She didn't name me directly, but everyone knew. The comments were full of supportive messages for my mom. Praying for you, Jen. Can't believe Maya would do this. Families should stick together. Jessica read over my shoulder. Are you going to respond? I smiled slowly. Oh, I'm going to respond. But not the way they expect. I spent the next hour crafting a Facebook post. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't mention my mom by name. I just told my story. I've seen some posts going around about family obligations and ungrateful children, I wrote. I'd like to share my perspective with receipts. For the past 8 years, since I was 16 years old, I've financially supported an able-bodied adult who chose not to work. Here's what that looked like. I attached screenshots. Bank statements showing my paychecks immediately transferred out. Texts from my mom demanding money. Photos of credit card bills with charges at luxury stores, all made on days I was working 12-hour hospital shifts. I blurred out the sensitive numbers, but left enough to show the pattern. I paid rent, utilities, food, phone, internet, and streaming services for 2 people on a nursing assistant salary, then a student nurse's salary, now an RN's salary. Meanwhile, the person I supported posted regularly about self-care days, shopping trips, and expensive brunches. When I finally set a boundary and said I would only pay my own bills going forward, I was told I was abandoning my family. I took a breath before typing the final paragraph. To everyone who thinks children owe their parents infinite financial support, you're wrong. I will always love my mom. But love doesn't mean letting someone bleed you dry. Love doesn't mean sacrificing your own future for someone else's comfort. And being family doesn't give anyone the right to exploit you. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just refusing to be a human ATM anymore. If that makes me ungrateful, then I'll wear that label proudly. I hit post before I could second-guess myself. Within an hour, my phone exploded. But not the way I expected. Old friends from high school commented with their own stories. My sister did this to me for years. This is brave, Maya. I wish I'd set boundaries like this sooner. Aunt Linda's post suddenly looked very different in context, with people commenting, maybe there's more to this story. Then came a comment from someone I didn't expect, my mom's college friend, Patricia. Jennifer, I love you, but I've watched this happen for years. Maya worked herself to exhaustion while you shopped. This isn't about her being ungrateful. This is about you refusing to help yourself. The comment had 47 likes. My mom didn't respond publicly, but my phone rang moments later. I answered. You've destroyed me, she said, her voice shaking. Everyone knows now. Everyone sees me as some kind of monster. Everyone sees the truth, I corrected. There's a difference. Please, Maya, she was crying now, real tears, not the manipulative kind. Please take it down. I'll do better. I'll get a job. I'll change. Just delete that post. Get a job first, I said. Show me you're serious. Then we'll talk. I don't have time, she wailed. The landlord wants proof of income by Friday, or I have to move out. The electricity is getting shut off tomorrow. I need help now. I closed my eyes. This was the moment. The moment I could cave, could rush in and save her like I always had, could delete everything and go back to being her safety net. Or I could hold firm. You have from now until Friday to figure it out, I said. That's 4 days. I managed to work 3 jobs while going to nursing school. I think you can find 1 job in 4 days if you actually try. Maya, I have to go. I have a shift in an hour. Good luck, Mom. I hung up. Jessica stared at me. Oh my God. You really did it. Yeah, I whispered. I really did. But the hardest part was still coming. Because the next day, I got a call from Mr. Patterson, the landlord. Maya, I wanted to let you know that your mother failed the income verification. I have to proceed with eviction proceedings. I'm sorry. My stomach dropped. How long does she have? 30 days from the official notice, which I'm serving today. 30 days. She had 30 days to find a new place, pack up 8 years of accumulation, and figure out how to survive without me. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. That evening, I drove to the apartment. Our apartment. Soon to be her former apartment. I parked outside, staring up at the window where I could see lights on. She'd figured out the electricity bill then. Or borrowed money from someone else. I almost didn't go in. But I needed to get the last of my things, and I needed to see her face one more time. She was sitting on the couch when I walked in, surrounded by boxes. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. Her hair needed touching up, her nails were bare, and she was wearing an old t-shirt instead of her usual polished outfits. You came, she said dully. I came for my things, I replied, moving toward my old room. Wait. Her voice cracked. Please. Just wait. I stopped. I got a job, she said. At a call center. It's not glamorous, but it's full-time. I start Monday. I turned slowly. That's good. And I applied for a studio apartment across town. It's small. Really small. But the rent is $900, and with my salary, I can afford it. Barely. That's good, I repeated, softer this time. She looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I saw something other than entitlement in her eyes. I saw shame. Real, genuine shame. I didn't realize, she whispered. I didn't realize how much you were carrying. How much I was taking. I told myself you were fine, that you were strong, that you didn't mind helping. But that was a lie. I knew. Deep down, I knew. I sat down on the arm of the couch, keeping distance between us. Then why? Because it was easier, she admitted. After your dad died, everything felt impossible. Working felt impossible. Bills felt impossible. Being a functioning adult felt impossible. And then there you were, my capable, responsible daughter, and I leaned, and leaned, and leaned, until I wasn't leaning anymore. I was crushing you. Tears were streaming down her face now. You were still a child, and I turned you into my parent. I turned you into your father. And I convinced myself I deserved it because I was sad. Because I was struggling. Because life was hard. Life is hard for everyone, Mom, I said quietly. The difference is most people don't have a teenager to subsidize their breakdown. She nodded, wiping her face with the back of her hand. I know. God, Maya, I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The apology hung in the air between us. Part of me wanted to fold, to say it was okay, to slip back into the role of forgiver and fixer. But I'd learned something important. An apology without change is just manipulation with different words. I need to see it, I said. Not just hear it. I need to see you actually take care of yourself. Actually work. Actually pay your own bills. Not for a week or a month, but for real. She nodded. I understand. I do. And I know I have no right to ask, but... She hesitated. Is there any chance we could ever be mother and daughter again? Not like before. Something new. Something healthier. I thought about that. About bedtime stories and birthday cakes. About the mom she used to be before grief turned her into someone unrecognizable. About the relationship we could have if she finally became a functioning adult. Maybe, I said honestly. But not now. Not until you prove you can stand on your own 2 feet. Not until I trust that you want me in your life for more than what I can provide financially. That's fair, she whispered. I stood up, moved toward my room to collect the last of my belongings. At the doorway, I paused. For what it's worth, I said, I hope you succeed. I hope the job works out. I hope you find happiness in that studio apartment. I hope you figure out how to build a life that doesn't require standing on someone else. Thank you, she said softly. And Maya? I really am proud of you. I know I never said it while I was too busy using you, but you're an incredible nurse, an incredible person, and you deserved a mother who saw that instead of a mother who saw an ATM. I nodded, not trusting my voice, and finished packing my things. 3 months have passed since that night. I got my own apartment, a tiny 1-bedroom that I can actually afford on my own. I decorated it exactly how I wanted, with no one to judge my choices or demand I buy them expensive candles instead. My credit score is slowly recovering. The credit card company found in my favor on most of the disputes, marking those charges as fraud and removing them from my report. My mother has to pay back the credit card company directly now. That's between them. The electricity, internet, and all those utilities? She figured it out. I don't know how, and I didn't ask. That's the whole point. She texts me occasionally. Updates about her job, her small apartment, the budget she's learning to stick to. I respond politely but briefly. I'm not ready for more yet. Maybe someday I will be. Aunt Linda never apologized for her Facebook post, but she did quietly delete it. Several family members have reached out privately to say they understand now, that they didn't know the full story, that they're sorry for judging me. I don't need their apologies. I just needed to stop drowning. Jessica still jokes that I should write a book called How to Fire Your Parent. I laugh, but honestly, sometimes I think about other people in my situation. Other 20-somethings funding their parents' lifestyles while their own dreams shrivel. Other people who've been told that love means sacrifice, when really, what they're experiencing is exploitation. If you're one of those people, let me tell you what I learned. You are not responsible for an adult's refusal to be an adult. You are not cruel for setting boundaries. You are not ungrateful for wanting a life of your own. And when someone tells you to pay your own bills as an insult, you're allowed to take them seriously. That night when my mom screamed at me, when she told me to pay my own bills, she thought she was putting me in my place. She thought she was reminding me how much I needed her. Instead, she set me free. I do pay my own bills now. Just my own. And you know what? They're a lot cheaper when you're not paying for 2. So here's my question for you. If someone in your life is bleeding you dry financially while calling it love, while screaming that you're ungrateful when you finally set a boundary, while making you feel selfish for wanting your own life, what are you waiting for? Make the decision that changes everything. Because I promise you, the fear of setting yourself free is nothing compared to the regret of staying trapped. Now I want to hear from you, beautiful souls of revenge time. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to cut off someone who is using you? How did you find the courage? And if you loved seeing Maya take back her power, smash that subscribe button because trust me, we have more stories of people who finally said enough and took their lives back. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, remember, you don't owe anyone your future just because they're part of your past.